Hi everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IAS in English. My name is Bhavar Singh Surya. I'm ex-India 115th course and I welcome you on the platform. Now over here, recently the Supreme Court have decided that whether the Election Commission of India can decide who is a citizen or not, and that is the complete ruling that will be decoding in this complete session along with me. And over here what has happened is that when it comes to the process. So Election Commission of India is right now doing a complete special intensive revision of the electoral rolls. Now when it comes to the intensive revision of the rolls, so it had been more than 2 decades, that is more than 20 years that an intensive revision had happened. And that is why it was important, because there had been rapid urbanization, there had been massive migrant shifts in this period of time, and there was the shifting of lots of people from one place to the another. So there was duplication of the names. There were also some of those people who have died during this period of time between this massive gap of more than 20 years, and that is why it has triggered the Election Commission of India to launch the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls. So it was in late 2025 that it was launched. The SIR process was launched and the intensive revision began, or the exercise began in India. Now what happened was that there were the assembly elections in West Bengal and Bihar, and during this there were the doubtful deletions that were brought to the news or brought to the headlines in Bihar and Bengal, which have sparked the public outrage, and thereby there were the massive PIL or multi-party PIL which were filed in the Supreme Court. Now, one of the basic PIL or one of the major PIL, it was filed by the ADR as well. Now, when it comes to the March 2026, the petitioners, they have alleged that the SIR process, it had acted as an opaque as well as backdoor citizen screening tool. And ultimately, there was the judgment that was passed in May 2026 by the Supreme Court that we are discussing in this complete video, discussing whether the Election Commission can decide about the citizenship, and if not, then who is the right authority. Now, over here, you can understand this complete process or the complete issue just by, a very simple example. Now, example is that you live in a society. When you are entering into the society, you have to show an I card. All right, to the security guard that is standing or that has a post outside the society gate. Now, suppose if you have forgotten your I card or that a card that shows that you belongs to that particular society. So you have forgotten that I card. Now the security guard, he will not let you inside. But at the same time, he cannot decide that whether you have that flat over here or not. All right, that will be decided by the competent civil court that is there. So the security guard does not have that power. And the same thing was laid down by the Supreme Court as well. It said that when it comes to the Election Commission of India, it is just a gatekeeper and it checks if you meet the minimum criteria that you enter into the voter list or not. Since citizenship is basically a condition that is for the president, or it is a precedent to voting. You get the voting rights only if you are a citizen of India. So Election Commission of India, it can check the basic documents to verify that whether you are the right person to be included into the electoral roll or not. But at the same time, it is the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is under the Citizenship Act of 1955, which is the sole competent authority to legally determine the citizenship status. The deletion from the voter list or the voter roll by the Election Commission of India is not the final or the legal denial of the Indian citizenship that you have. So this is very important that when we have the two processes, we have the Election Commission of India, we have Ministry of Home Affairs. So basically these are the two different doors which are there in the complete setup. So when it comes to the complete process of the SIR or the special intensive revision, so what happens is that there is door-to-door audit where the booth level officers or the BLOs, they conduct physical door-to-door enumeration to verify that the existing voter entries are there. Then there is documented review where the electors are asked to provide the recognized documents to prove the identity, the residency and the citizenship prerequisites as well. And also there is purification where the duplicate, deceased, migrated or undocumented entries are flagged and they are proposed for deletion for with the reason as well. Now, when it comes to the SIR, it differs from the normal revision that happens. Now normal revision is basically the, when it comes to the normal revision, it is passive claim and the objection system. But when it comes to the intensive revision, it is active administrative sweep of the complete electoral rolls that is there. And that is why the complete exercise is massive on the scale, and there is the structural impact that you have seen in the recent assembly elections as well. So there are two types of the revision that happens. One is annual or the ordinary revision, where the method is passive, where the voters, they file for the claims and the objections. There had been, or there are the regular additions and the basic updates, but there are no deletions over here. At the same time, basic self-declaration and the standard ID is required as the basis of the proof to be added into the electoral roll, and there is low risk of the mass disenfranchisement. But when it comes to the SIR, so it is basically the active method that is utilized by the Election Commission of India, where there is door-to-door physical verification. There is complete systemic cleanup of the legacy list as well. There are rigorous document scrutiny, and there are total 12 of the documents that had to be provided for verifying your claim into the voter list, and there are high risk if the vulnerable population, they lack the papers, so then they are deleted from the voter list. Now over here, what the Supreme Court have laid down in its verdict. So on 27th of May 2026, the Supreme Court bench, which was headed by the Chief Justice of India, Honorable Judge Suryakant ji, so it had upheld that there is the constitutional validity of the SIR or the special intensive revision, but at the same time it has ruled that it is necessary for ensuring the voter purity, and also added a major mandate, and very important, that any doubtful citizenship deletion, it must be referred to the MHA or the Ministry of Home Affairs competent authorities within 4 weeks for the final adjudication. Now, this prevents the individuals from hanging in a permanent and administrative no man's land, all right, without the voter's ID or without the formal trials as well. So the Supreme Court ruled out that the electoral roll entry carries the rebuttal presumption of validity, not a perpetual guarantee against the administrative scrutiny, and that is what the Supreme Court had laid down in its verdict. But at the same time, there are certain challenges when it comes to the special intensive revision. The first challenge is that shifting of the proof of burden. The 4-week window where the Election Commission of India, it will refer the deleted names to the Ministry of Home Affairs. Ultimately, over here, what will happen is that it will force the poor and the deleted individuals to immediately defend their status in the courts. There is also impossibly tight timelines where it has directed the competent tribunals to resolve the citizenship before the local or the General Assembly polls, and the operation is quite daunting in task. There is also document rigidity. When it comes to the initial list of the documents, they were hyper restrictive and they ignored the unorganized document keeping reality that we have in the rural India. Alright, also when it comes to the opacity, so there had been allegation of targeted exclusion, targeting specific linguistic or the religious minority groups as well. Now this is very important because you will be the future administrator, and these things you will be, operating on the ground level. Alright, so ultimately this challenge will be yours, and over here you have to balance between the law enforcement that is removing the illegal residents which are staying in the country with the social empathy as well, where you have to ensure that the genuine citizen, they are not harassed, and that is the ground reality, and that is what we study in the public administration as well, that as a future administrator, how you have to behave, what you have to do, what is the proper accountability, and how to balance the things. And that is why I have, included this, because this is what is important for being the future administrator. Now, if you are just, thinking about taking the optional, so you can choose the public administration as an optional as well, because it connects to your day-to-day current affairs and what is happening into the governance sector as well. Now, there had been certain correctives that had been, made by the Supreme Court when it comes to the SIR process. Now, the Aadhaar had been included, and the Supreme Court ruled that the Aadhaar must be accepted as the 12th indicative document to prove the standard residency when it comes to the list of the documents. Also, the ECI or the Election Commission of India, it must publish the complete list of all the 65 lakh proposed exclusion with a specific written reason why they had been excluded. And also there is the right of audience that had been provided, that no deletion can take place without issuing a proper notice and affording a personal hearing to the citizen. So these structural correctives are what that have corrected the complete opaque administrative outcome into a verifiable, into a contestable and the constitutionally compliant process. And that is why when it comes to the judiciary, it is something that balances the power and it restores the power and the trust into the complete governance process that you can see when it comes to the recent Supreme Court judgments as well. Now, there had been the voter roll-ups when it comes to the global context as well. In United States system, there is the decentralized state control, where there are the standard voter roll cleanups, that is the purges, and they are managed by the individual states which are there. Now, they are governed by the National Voter Registration Act or NVRA. Now, over here, there are also challenges because they are prone to high political friction, because when it comes to the decentralized state control, so what happens is that there are party aligned state secretaries. They often are accused of the aggressively deleting minority voters to sway away the elections in their favor as well. There is another model in UK as well, where there is individual electoral registration which is driven by automated databases linked directly to the national insurance numbers and the residency indices. Now, they are highly systematic. But at the same time, there are controversies here as well, because when it comes to them, they have been criticized for excluding the low-income tenants and the transit population who frequently shift their residences. And these are the two global benchmarks that you can see. Now, when it comes to the SIR, you must understand that the vote is the most powerful non-violent tool that we have in a democratic society. And we must write laws that must expand the right to vote and protect it. And it should not restrict it. And these are the words by John Lewis. So that would be all in this session. But at the same time, if you are preparing for the civil services for 2027 or 2028 or for 2029, you can join the GS Foundation batch, that is P2I batches. And these are based on the SMART model, where we have the structured classes, mentorship, the assessment dashboard that you get, as well as revision and the test. And you can use the code BRS Live for the maximum discount that we have. And if you are planning for joining the public administration batch again, so the live classes, they will be starting from the new batch. It will be starting from 15th of June, and you can enroll into the course of the public administration. Again, you can use the code that is BRS Live, where we do not just go through the textbook, but we integrate paper 1 with paper 2. We integrate the theorist or the theories from the paper 1 towards the real ground situation that we have in the Indian administration, and we discuss these current affairs as well, where the current affairs are very important, which are used by the UPSC to frame the questions. So that would be all in this session. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me over here. But do not forget to like the session. Also, do not forget to share this session with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed it yet. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Jai Hind. Do comment if you have liked the session, and also tell me what all things that you will like to cover in the upcoming sessions with me on the platform of StudyIQ. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind. Thank you.